Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor Ncube series, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Nkosana Mazibisa, the chief hustler, creative practitioner, and a social entrepreneur. If you enjoy this conversation, remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work. Nkosana Mazibisa, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
It's a pleasure to be here, Trevor.
What a joy. Before we go on, I just want to thank Legacy Car Rental, Phoebe's Lodge, and the Tea Room at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair for making the Wulawayo series possible. So, Nkosana, I want us to start by heavy lifting and say, what have been the key moments in your life? What have been the key milestones that define who you are becoming?
That's a very deep emotional question, Trevor.
Let's go there. Let's go there.
Emotional question.
Yes.
You know, for us entrepreneurs, it is when you go through crucibles that then define who you are. When you reach rock bottom, you're able to have this highlight of your passion, purpose, and mission. 2008, I was at Solus University doing BA History. Sharp, brilliant. I love history. I think that's what explains why I love reading. I read close to 48 books a year, 4 books per month. I was so passionate about history, studied history, also looking towards political economy, economics and stuff like that. But unfortunately, because of the economic situation in Zimbabwe, I was no exception. My parents could not afford fees. I dropped out. That was the first core or reality that I came into contact with. Secondly, Trevor, I then traveled to the US years.
So you drop out. What does that do to you?
Actually, before I drop out, Trevor, I skipped the most important part. In 2007, I received a scholarship to study in the US. I was supposed to study what you call behavioral science at Andrews University, one of the top universities there. Sharp, brilliant, because I had scored marks in high school. So I got a scholarship. What was needed for me was my parents to pay for air flights and application fee. I wrote an email back to them. They said, no, for application, we're removing it. Just come to the US. My parents could not afford the air flight. Probably if I'd gone to the US, I would have impacted Africa. Then I had to devise plan B, go to Solus, get to Solus there again. My parents can't afford school fees. So that on its own was a moment of awakening. Yes.
So what does it do to you? I mean, I get the sense. I mean, if I almost like you, I got a scholarship and a teaching assistantship to go to Calgary University. I failed to raise an air ticket to go to Calgary, and I was not able to pursue that opportunity. But it haunts you. It makes you doubt yourself. Is that the sense that you experience?
I have this passion towards education. I don't want to see young people miss out on opportunities. That disparity between those and those that don't have has become my mission to then solve that problem. So whatever I go through, in as much as it affects me as a person, it makes me realize my shortcomings and also what I'm lacking. I then use that to find a solution to solve for other people. So that what then informs me as a social entrepreneur now.
So it appears, as I'm talking to you, that you've already gone through some painful moments. As I asked the question, say that's an emotional issue. What has life taught you about life?
Life has no formula. Life has no formula, but does not stop us from solving the equation. The fact that it has no formula, you have your own equation. Whether it becomes simultaneous equation, it's up to you. But within that context of framing life, there are people who play a role in it. The mentors. And also your own life journey. And also there's a spiritual element to it, all this. Remember, we have this vertical relationship with God, then it informs our horizontal relationship with one another. So it becomes a journey, what you call self-discover, who you are. Life has taught me all that. And also in life has also taught me that I'm also human. I make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, don't point at others. Also look deep within you. What is it that I made wrong? How do I correct this? In entrepreneurship, Trevor, entrepreneurship is different from any other career where you are given the book, you are given the way of doing things. In entrepreneurship, you discover things by yourself. And discovering is costly. For any mistake, there's a financial burden to it. And also, it's a lonely journey, solitude. It's a question of mindset. Few people are able to grasp the things that we are looking at in reframing Zimbabwe, in reconstruction of Africa, because they do not see what we see. They do not experience the passion that we possess. Then we are labeled as madmen of Africa. And when we are labeled as a madman of Africa, you are on your own, and you go through the wilderness. So life has taught me all that.
How do you go through the wilderness on your own? How do you go through life as the other one who's ignored, who's not taken seriously, and that because the people don't get the vision of where you want to go?
So to go through life in that phase, you need mentors. The likes of you have played a role in my life. I follow the conversation I've been following, right? All before, even during COVID, remember, during COVID, the conversations that we had. Mentorship plays a key role in my life. There are people also currently, thanks to you, Trevor, I now have another mentor, Elder Shingai Mtasa. Elder Shingai Mtasa, we have conversations. Elder Shingai Mtasa, when I reach out to him, he says, young man, correct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what you need to do. That on its own pushes me through the wilderness. There is Umama Lindwe Machele. She gives me tough love. When the world is clapping hands for me, Lindwe makes sure that I remain sane. Says, listen, young man, correct 1, correct 2, here we need. So mentors play a role. And lastly, also there is Elder KT from the Seventh Adventist, which is famously known as Elder Takurei. His brilliance. When I look at him, his brilliance. When I interact with
him. Is that Kuda Tagure?
Kuda Tagure, yes. His brilliance, his humility, and also it informs his faith. I pick up all those nuggets from all these people, and I'm able to then say, this is my journey. They've gone through 1, 2, 3. How do I then make my journey more memorable? And then also enjoy without quitting. So I remember the other time when I had a conversation with Elder KT, this is what I picked from him. He said his faith informs his personality. Hence, the way he's so big when it comes to Seventh-day Adventist Church. Despite all, that shaped my mind. And then I resonated.
In what way?
I'm a I love giving back to the community. I'm a philanthropist person. I grew up in the Adventist society. I'm a fourth generation. So where we come from in the Adventist society, there is this evacuemism philosophy that people should focus on going to heaven more than chasing aspirations. So when I interact with the likes of Elder Katie and also Elder Charles Chitando, Sakunda CEO, and I realize the importance of purpose in life. The importance of overcoming one's obstacles generally. Where you are, despite whatever happens in life, I can only speak on what I pick. That then informs me that my journey is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And within that marathon, there are people that come in and they may not be part of the bigger puzzle, but for that particular moment, they push me.
One thing I've watched you do is building your social capital and network, being part of the Future Elect Fellows, Mandela Washington Fellows. Has this been deliberate, and what have you gotten out of it?
One book that informed me is Alchemist. It's
The Alchemist,
Paulo,
yes.
It's written by Paulo. Paulo says, when you want something, the universe conspires to help you. But you must be deliberate. You must be deliberate. The same way when, what's that young person in the Bible who was blind? Bartimaeus. When he heard that Jesus is passing by, what did he do? He went to the highway. So I'm deliberate. I'm intentional, Trevor. Whatever I'm doing, I wake up in the morning. I believe in the Pareto law. Focus on what you're good at. Look at that. Push. So I'm deliberate. I'm deliberate in my networks. I'm deliberate in the fellowships. I'm deliberate in social enterprises. I'm literally everywhere. I'm deliberate because that must inform me as a person. And also one day I must be accountable to God for the time that I've used. Remember, any talent and the time that is misused becomes irrelevant. I cannot be chasing social media. I need to chase things that build society and be remembered as a legacy person. That's one thing that me and you say, legacy. I remember when I had this conversation with you years back, you spoke of legacy. You are at a point where you're building legacy. I said, okay, he's at that age, he's building legacy. Why don't I start earlier? And whatever I'm building become legacy along the way.
We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I want us to go to a place where, again, in terms of purpose, you thought of leaving the country and you decided, no, you're not going to leave the country. So why did you decide not to go out of the country? And when you look back, was that a good decision? Don't go away at home. We join you on the other side.
Remember, Zimbabwe is polarized. It's either you are or you're against.
Welcome back to our conversation with Nkosana Mazibisa, the chief hustler, creative practitioner, and a social entrepreneur. We want to give thanks to Legacy Car Rental, Phoebe's Lodge, and the Tea Room at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair for making the Bulawayo series possible. So before we took the break, Nkosana, you made a decision at some point that you wanted to leave the country. And I'm going there because there's a lot of young people who are in that space. This place is so tough. Things are not working out and I'm going to leave. And some leave and they regret it. Some don't leave and they regret it. Talk to me about your decision-making process. You wanted to leave. Why did you leave? You stayed. Why did you stay?
Honestly speaking, we all have dreams. Every person has a dream. Every person has a mandate from God to live their lives to the fullest and die empty, emptied everything. And to be frank with you, Trevor, Zimbabwe right now, where it is, even where it was when we were, it was tough, really tough. We are brilliant, we're sharp, the world is calling us. And what do we do? Do we leave the country and leave it as it is? Do we leave the continent and leave it as it is? Or do we become part of the solution that the country and the continent needs? It's a very tough decision to make because when you look at your peers have gone abroad, they're excelling exceptionally well. They have accumulated, and here you are, pushing things left, right, and center. But what then gives us peace of mind is that at the end of the day, we have lived our lives where we are. We are the solution. It wasn't easy. I remember I came back from the US. I had gone for Mandela Washington Fellowship for 8 weeks. I went to an Ivy League, which was Dartmouth College. Trevor, the exposure I got there, the culture shock, and also I consumed a lot of information. I was exposed to a lot of things, functional systems. I was exposed to material. I was exposed to, networks. How you can scale an idea from overnight becomes this thing, venture capital. And I said to myself, why should I go back to Africa? When I can easily stay here. But the answer was, I will always reach a ceiling because the American system is a ceiling. They've achieved what they... But Africa is a continent full of opportunities. If you do it right, probably 10, 15 years, you can be a billionaire. Do it wrong.
Is that your aim?
My aim, I would love to die a billionaire. Not because I want to acquire money and wealth. I want it to become a means to solve problems.
Okay.
Specifically education. Because I dropped out of university. That thing still haunts me up to today, Trevor. It's very emotional. So hence, I'm so passionate about schools as becoming centers of influence. So if God grants me that desire, I become a billionaire. Most probably, I'll die without having owned all of it, giving back to charity. Because the little that I get, even up to today, I still give it back to charity. So I stayed in Zimbabwe. There are
Do you
days-
regret it?
It's mixed emotions, to be true.
Yeah.
It's mixed. There are days when I'm exceptionally good about it, looking at what we have done. And then there are days when I look back and say, probably if we had left and done things at a global scale, came back. Look, life is no formula. Like I said, it's a simultaneous equation. You solve today, you're halfway solving, you're happy.
Something else comes out.
It's trial and error.
Yeah.
But
Tell me, so in 2018, you decided you're going to get into politics. You campaigned and you participated as an independent candidate. Was that wise? When you look back,
when I look back, I think that was
talk to me about that season. Was that wise? What's your assessment of that decision?
That decision, I don't regret. Even if I'd wake up today, I'll still do it.
Okay.
I don't regret that decision.
Why?
Why I don't regret that decision is social entrepreneurship. You cannot separate community development and the politics. Many of our people who occupy public offices, they're there for selfish reasons. One. Number two, there is abuse of office that we've seen right from municipality up to whatever level you can think of. And social service is one of the most important things that make life easier for communities and also for us entrepreneurs. So when I took that decision, it was also informed by my history and legacy. Trevor, I come from a family of leaders. Joshua Nkomo, if you go to Joshua Nkomo's book, Story of My Life, chapter 6, the chapter is called My First Offense. My grandfather, Nkosana Mazibisa, was part of Joshua Nkomo's executive in the ZAP and assisted Joshua Nkomo in going to the UK for a conference. Much of the Zipra cutters, they were also mentored by my grandfather, Nkosana Mazibisa. Go to 1981, 1982, there's a research which was done by Professor Roberts around the revival of the Ndebele Kingdom under the Matabeleland Home Society. My grandfather was the first person to bring the royal family, traced it all the way to South Africa and brought it back to Zimbabwe to say this is the Nziliga's royal family and where Bulelani comes from. My grandfather was the first person to identify. So leadership has always been ingrained. I come from a family of leaders. Chieftainship, we have the chieftainship in our family. So no matter where I go, there is that social influence. Then that informed me going into politics.
But you failed.
I did not fail.
You tell me you did not fail.
I learned a lesson.
Tell me about that. What lesson was that?
Lesson number one that I learned is no matter how brilliant and good you are, people are used to victimhood. So because I did not belong to two parties, remember Zimbabwe is polarized. It's either you are or you're against. So in between, there's no third way. I remember reading your articles, the third way.
Yeah.
Of which we needed in America. Donald Trump came in as the anti-establishment. And he made it. So we need to have these alternatives.
Why did you not go with one of the two?
That's a deep conversation because I'm from one of them. It's a history that I know other people don't like me talking about it.
Why?
Because in that context, I was also part of the ruling party.
Aha.
I was part of the ruling party. Remember, my grandfather was from ZAPU.
Yes, then the Unity.
The Unity Party. So some of us, even when we grew up understanding the frame.
So why didn't you stick with your grandfather's party?
Yes, I was there. Remember, there was the coup, 2017.
Yeah.
Some of us were lapelled and were pushed away. And also, I am one of the few people who was always thinking outside the box. I had relationships with the Americans. The US ambassador came to see me in my community. I was always reaching out to the world. So in a space where other people don't see brilliance as a way of serving the country, they see it as a way of settling scores. I was part of the people who were then pushed out. So when we were pushed out, I had relationships across many people. For example, Jonathan Moyo, I had relationships with him. I was learning a lot around education, Savior,
And then you decided, no, I'm going to go on my own.
Yes. So when the coup happened, many of us were pushed away.
So what lessons did you learn from that?
So what I learned from that, number one, is that go beyond public office. Public office is not the end. It's just one of the means. You get there, you move. Hence, even today, Trevor, I still serve my community. Last day, there were elections. They said, come. I said, no. I've done my part, but I'll still serve you. Lesson one. Lesson two that I learned is that Africa is too polarized. Probably there are deep-seated wounds that we need to first deal with, to heal and rediscover ourselves, especially in this region, the issue of Kokorawonde. So it also affected where I come from in many of us, but when then we are seen from the other side, we're also labeled. So there is a lot of feeling this country needs to go through. Then also thirdly is the importance of participation of young people. There is too much apathy from young people. Young people do not want to participate in politics, whether it's local politics in schools.
So are you then saying that the notion that young people are going to change our politics is perhaps misplaced?
It's misplaced. Our young people, today, just today, look at where they are. Compare Kenya and Zimbabwe, you'll see the difference.
Share with me what the difference is, as briefly as possible.
The difference is, number one, how many of our young people are involved in school development committees? How many of our young people are involved in community development?
So what you're saying is the young people are not engaged.
Our young people are disengaged.
Okay.
I think it's out of frustration. Also, it's out of the conversation and socialization of the society that says, who are you to try and change things? And when we say change, we do not mean maybe
regime change.
Or
No.
I don't want to be misquoted.
Okay.
I mean problems where you are, be it society, community. Are you part of the people finding solution? That's where it differs with Kenya and South Africa.
One thing that I saw is that you were approached by Kirsty Coventry. Talk to me about that season. You were one of the few people handpicked by Kirsty Coventry to help her, as briefly as possible.
In 2019, so 2019, I'm relaxed in my office. I received a call.
You failed to be a politician.
I failed. Yes, I failed to be a politician on the other side.
Yeah.
So I quit politics.
Yeah.
From there, I quit politics. I received a call from Kirsty says, I've been informed that you're one of the brilliant minds in Zimbabwe. I intend to do a youth endeavor. Do you mind being part of it? I'm like, oh, okay. When? It's like, come to Harare. That's when I went to Harare. Got there, we're 10 of us. Sharp as we are, put up the systems. It was one of the best moments in my life, serving my country at that particular space. I felt at peace. And the relationship that we then had, I remember the fellow cutters and comrades that I had seeing me there, like, okay, what is it doing? I said, no. The chain is always bigger than your mother's kitchen.
He sold out again.
Like, okay, we thought his auntie.
He's now eating with Zanu PF.
I said, no. When we're serving the country is bigger than parties.
How do you tell that to your generation, that there's a difference between serving your party and serving your country?
Patriotism has nothing to do with the party.
Does your generation get that?
Our generation, unfortunately, time will teach them that.
Which is painful, isn't it?
It's a painful process.
Yeah.
Because I am, because we are. Whether we're MTC, Zanu, Ndonga, or what, we are human beings before parties. That is the gospel that I used to preach when I was in politics. I said, let's not look at each other in party regalia. Because when we have a problem, I'm solving it as humans, not as parties. Parties are relevant in election time. We differ in ideology, but we do not differ in humanity.
You need to preach that to your generation, because I think the message coming from somebody like you maybe is going to be palatable to your generation that is running around with party politics and ideology rather than putting the nation first.
Also, Trevor, to highlight that, I also worked with Gift Banda. Gift Banda, the former deputy mayor, was also member of parliament for my constituency. So during election time 2018, when I was running as an independent, was running for MP. He saw the brilliance in me. And he heard a lot of the work that we had done. Even in the community, I was a chairperson of a local school called Mawa Primary School. So when I came back to the US, from the US, I developed that school and it won a merit award put in the best infrastructure, greenhouses, fish farming, name it all. Ministers would come and see that space. People from South
The
Africa,
US ambassador,
the ambassador would
went
come
there.
and see. The level of innovation we put in a township school, which is a public school, drew attention. So after election, Gift Banda says to me, young man, I want you to become my information secretary in the office of the MP. Like, okay, but what will your party say? He says, no, we're beyond party now. We're serving people. So I was able then to serve the community outside politics and become information secretary. The level of impact that we did there was massive. So after what do you call this, constituency development committees will sit, will discuss, then they'll go and do their party things. Me now go do my business. And I was in charge of the CTF, formulating projects, making
What
sure.
is CTF?
CTF is
Constitutional Development. Okay.
Fund. So whenever the government would release fund for the constituents, I knew where to allocate with the team. I was in charge also of the media engagements and also of the schools. By the time Gift finished his term of office, schools were impacted. By the time Gift finished his term of office, our COVID adaptation plan was on point. Then after that, I said, you know what, I've saved you. It's time for me to build something for myself.
I introduced you as the chief hustler. So in 2022, you you decided to found the Hustlers Summit. Talk to me about the process of saying, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to go about it. What made you do that?
I've been an entrepreneur way before. That's what's keeping me busy. 2013, 2014, I formed my first company, Trevor, called SWAT, the Test of India. I made lots of money. I made lots of money.
What were you doing?
It was biscuits and chips. So I went to Harare for a visit. I was supposed to see the governor, the RPZ governor, regarding Bitcoins. 2012, 13, I was the first person to write articles about Bitcoins on Chronicle and Sunday News. And I had a meeting with Gono. Set up a meeting, someone flew in from New Zealand, said to a brilliant young man, let's set up these things. So went to Harare. By stroke of luck or accident, we arrived at this house. I found people doing biscuits and chips, low scale. I said, you know what, I'm no longer going to the cabinet. I'm learning this. I learned this. By the time I went to the cabinet, this office, well, in my mind, it switched off. I said, this is money. Did that, Trevor, that business.
So you dropped Bitcoin for biscuits?
For biscuits. I said, you know what? We spoke to government representative, as usual, that attitude and arrogance. I said, I know it's okay. Me, I found the gold. Trevor, I built that enterprise from the township. We made serious money. Bought my first BMW 523i V6 engine. I was young, enjoyed the cars.
How old were you?
Then I was 27. 27, lived the life, traveled.
So you were importing biscuits?
No, I wasn't.
No. What were you doing?
We were cooking them.
You're cooking biscuits?
Biscuits, pastry chips. Our competitors were Spars, Spats, Lays, Simba, Lopels. We did quite a lot of stuff in the backyard.
How did you fund that business?
So what I did is, Trevor, because I used to write articles for different people, even business consultation, I would get money. So I took that type of that capital that I had and bought my first machinery. It was this big. I looked for plastics because we are brilliant. Our packaging did not reveal that way from the backyard. So when we put up into the markets, people were like, okay, it's one of those imports, maybe probably from Asia or Europe. Eventually we scaled. And the reason why we chose SWAT, we didn't want to do an African name. If you do an African name, Toby, we have this self-hate towards ourselves. So we said SWAT, the Test of India, because Zimbabwe is multicultural. Zimbabwe is a lot of history around the Indian community that also contributed to the economy.
Where is that business now?
It failed.
It failed. We're going to take a break there. So you're successful, you buy your first BMW, and then the business fails. We're going to get there. So please, at home, don't go away. Let's find out why George Mazibisa failed. See you on the other side.
I strongly believe I belong to the 1% of the sharpest minds in Africa, in the world.
Welcome back to our conversation with Nkosana George Mazibisa, the chief hustler, creative practitioner, and social entrepreneur. Again, I want to say thank you to Legacy Car Rental, Phoebe's Lodge, and the tea room at ZITF, who have made the Bulawayo series possible. Thank you so much. So you start this business, you make lots of money, you fail. Why? What happened?
I had no mentors. I had no one to teach me business.
You should not have bought a BMW.
Exactly. I did not know the difference between fixed assets and movable assets. And also there was this desire to show off. We are blacks. When you have made it, your first sign is acquire things, show off to people. And also, Trevor, there were no systems. Remember, we are entrepreneurs, we are purist in mind.
If you were to do this over again, what would you do? What would you do?
If I'll do it differently, I think I would have put up systems to protect the business from me and to protect me from myself. Remember, it's a chain of self-discovery, and no one has taught us the pitfalls of doing business. Again, there was the issue of the currency. I want to hammer that as well. We made money because of multi-currency. Later, then there was introduction of one currency, the Zim dollar, the bond. And it really crushed us because some of the things that we're buying, we were supposed to buy them in Forex. And the type of flour that we're using, it was Sasco white bread flour from South Africa. And there was a stationary instrument that was introduced, the banning imports. We're in the business of doing food, and food is based on taste. Now I'm supposed to settle for this type of flour that is local, that doesn't even produce results for us. I'm in a fix. Eventually I took even. People are not paid. And also,
How did you deal with that? What did that failure teach you?
it crushed me. It really
Talk to me about that.
It crushed me as a person. I blamed myself for a lot of things in life. And also I was also surrounded by false people. Remember, as you're building, you're attracting the wrong type of people. Your light will attract lots of people because it's brilliant. But as they get closer, they become blinded by it. Some will want to distinguish, just to extinguish that light. So for me, it was a huge lesson. God was teaching me rock bottom. And before even I reached rock bottom, I want to say this. God spoke to me when I was still successful in that area before now. He says, build churches for me. I was ignorant. He said, build churches for me.
Did you?
I went to Egypt. He spoke to me when I was in the pyramids. He said, build churches for me. I built a church for him. I seated my BMW, the one that I loved most, seated it into the church. We built a church. God was simply trying to teach me a lesson of taking things away and remain as I am.
Stewardship.
And worship him. So when I crashed, that's when my relationship with God came back and was revived. And within that time when I crashed, beyond 2019 and 2021, I also, when I was successful, I had one of the biggest weddings in Zimbabwe. During COVID, we're making it. But when I crashed, I lost everything, even my marriage, I lost it.
You lost your marriage?
I lost my marriage and I reached rock bottom. I fell into depression, tried suicide several times. I'm like, God, I can't do this life anymore. I can't. I've given up. No one was there for me. But one thing I learned is that's when I consumed more literature. Yes, I used to read, but I wasn't as avid as I.
So you got distant from God.
I got distant from
You
God.
lost your marriage. Why did you lose your marriage?
A lot of things. I think we were not yet wired to understand in-laws dynamics and also personal relationships. It's one thing to be in a relationship when you're away, but when you're now together, there are a lot of things. You remember trying to adjust to one another?
Did the marriage produce children?
No.
No. Okay.
No. So when all that failed, Trevor, I reached rock bottom. And when I reached rock bottom, no one is there to support me. There was a time when I...
So you say you did think of committing suicide. Talk to me about that.
Trevor, you have lost everything. Your name is, you have lost business, marriage, you have lost your name, your dignity, no one is there for you. Mental health. I lost weight, Trevor. 1, 2 a.m. I'll be awake. No one was there to give me counsel. There was a time when I missed this called Happy Sabbath. Every Friday we send each other Happy Sabbath. No one sent me that. I was an outcast. I was discriminated. I was made a laughingstock within society and the church. Only one person reached out to me. It was Pastor Skombuzo Dube reached out to me. Said, you know what? I want us to go through this journey of therapy together.
So you went through therapy?
I went through therapy with him. And that therapy, I broke down into tears, Trevor. My brokenness made me realize, okay, I've been chasing fame, wealth, success. What does God really want from me? What does God really want from me? Then became the journey of self-discovery. From there, Trevor, things blew out. Yes, there were the other families, the Zibas family, my own family, yes, was there, but when the people that I needed the most, the people that I helped the most, Trevor, the society, the church, people who benefited from me were actually the biggest critics of celebrating my misfortune. Then I realized that, whenever I have a misfortune, there are people who are always ready to celebrate. Some people do not care about your side of events. What they hate suits exactly how they want to feel about you. And also remember, as we rise and build Africa, society, and everything, not everyone is happy for us. Those are the lessons I learned the hard way. Purification, the crucible.
What in you has changed because of that season, because of that experience?
Now I'm very particular who comes into my space. I don't have friends. I don't have friends.
Is that a good thing?
It is a good thing for me. The moment you step into my space, you are vetted. Because I need to understand your intention. I need to understand. So now I have more mentors than people of my age group. Because people of my age group, I said, no, wait up until I'm well. But I have more. Now that has changed. I have more mentors. I consume more literature. I focus more on purpose. What does God want me to do?
So have you fully dealt with your brokenness?
Yes. It's taken me more than 2-3 years. Now I'm able to talk about it freely. There are times when, Trevor, people ask, how are you, Nkosana? I'll just break down in tears. And one thing that I love most is from then traveling, flying out of the country every month. Traveling exposes the mind. I've learned a lot, been to Cape Town. Because of the fellowship, the Lindo Mazibugo, future elect, I made friends.
So you then, let's go to, you create the idea, the thinking behind the Hustlers Summit as briefly as possible.
Oh, yes. So in my brokenness, then God said, I called you to transform lives and societies. I called you to solve a problem in Africa. What is the problem? Empower young people. That's how Hustler Summit was born. Hustler Summit is a platform. It's an entrepreneurial platform that connects young people, the university students, out-of-school youths, developmental agencies, and government. And let's have conversation around economic growth, employability, and intellectual property. So when we bring in these people together, we're saying, let's discover one another. Let's have a mindset shift. Let's share opportunities. Let's bridge the disparity between those that have and those that do not have by having keynotes, panel discussions, cocktails, and breaking it down from the high end into the lowest so that each child will then say, my dreams are also valid. That's what informs Hustler Summit.
So you've run it for 3 years now.
For 3 years.
What would you say are the successes of the Hustler Summit?
The successes of Hustler Summit, the fact that it's an international platform that has keynote speakers coming in out of Zimbabwe.
You've had DJ Swoo?
DJ Swoo and the Mofire team coming in. Yo, Trevor, I wish one day we'll have a conversation. I will tell you what happened today. Trevor.
You're having a good time.
Trevor, when you're building something, also remember that you are fighting against a lot of stuff. Your DJ who calls me in the morning, was having coffee. He spills coffee over his passport, and the immigration can't process him. I'm supposed to go to the immigration. I broke down. And also, we're fighting a lot of systems. We are young. Others don't want to succeed. Trevor, it was massive. Yo, I broke down in tears. The provincial immigration officer understood my problem. Said, young man, I'm going to help you. And others were saying, if teachers who comes into the country, there are certain 1 or 2, 3 clearances that we're supposed to get. We applied for them 4 months, and we're being shut out. God makes a way.
So 3 times you've run it now. What's been the attendance like?
Ever growing. First day it was 1,093, if my memory serves me well. Second year, last year, we brought in Nkosana Mazibisa, a multimillionaire from Zambia. It was 2 point something. Then they say it was the biggest. We're on 2.8 thereabout. Yes, we partnered with the US Embassy. They brought in Tatis Tseha from University of Maryland. We brought in Nicolette Mashile, the financial bunny from South Africa. We had Reality 7, we had Andre, the vocalist. It was hope and hustle. It was
You
big.
did it at Barberfield Stadium?
Barberfield Stadium.
Filled it up?
Filled it up outside. The desire was to fill the stadium in. But because what we're doing, others that do not see the bigger picture. Hey, the frustration with the red tapes and bureaucracy. Remember, we're supposed also to partner with the University of Science and Technology. We're bringing in a speaker from Maryland. You guys who can twin up and take advantage of resources and material and scholarships. They frustrated us.
There's something that you keep on saying, which you talked about yourself in the third format. You say we. Why do you do that? First question. Second question. You talk about yourself as brilliant. Talk to me about that. Why do you do that?
I strongly believe I belong to the 1% of the sharpest minds in Africa, in the world. In Nigeria, they say the lizard said, if I jump up high from the Iroko tree and no one claps hands for me, I'll clap hands for myself. I'm brilliant, Trevor. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm brilliant.
And you're going to clap hands for yourself.
From where I've come from the brokenness to where I am.
Yeah.
I am, because God has brought me this far.
Yeah.
Secondly, we, when I say we, it's because I have a team behind me. Team of sharp young people. Sharp young people, I pick people who I see they have potential. People who need to be nurtured as well. And those are the people that I bring around and say, look, I did mistakes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't do that. I will mentor you. So that's the team around me, we. And then when I say we, I also refer to the support system that I get, the likes of you, the likes of mentors. Yes, because I don't have all the answers. I have to refer back.
What's how old are you now?
I'm turning 36.
36. You still have another 60 years to go. What does that look like? I mean, what are you aiming for?
The remaining years of my life, actually, in Africa, they say life begins at 40. I'm
You haven't started
I haven't started it.
Yeah.
So, as Mkawa will say every year, I haven't started. To me, I think this was ECD, early childhood. God was formulating me, helping me.
What's the big picture?
So the big picture, I want Zimbabwe to be as big as America. Tell our authentic story as Ubulawai. I want us to be as big as World Economic Forum. Why do we travel to Europe for Russia Africa Summit? Why do we go to Korea Africa Summit? A country calls the whole continent. Why can't we call them to Africa? The future looks bright for me to say one day Hustler Summit probably will be that big. We'll have presidents, we'll have the likes of you there, having conversation, inspiring the next generation of people. That's what the future looks. Yeah. Even if I'm
what do you want the young people watching you right now to get from? What one message that you'd want them to get from this conversation?
Your dreams are valid. Don't let anyone tell you that it's impossible. Judge your day by what you've produced, not what you've consumed. Consumption is passive. Production, it's intentional. Much of my eureka moments come from the thoughts that we put out there. They fermented like wine over time. So don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough.
I know you love books. We're going to 10 books now. I know with you we can talk the whole day and into the weekend. But what a conversation. You're clearly a bright young man with a promising future. As long as you don't buy another BMW and
there's a story behind all those cars.
Let's turn to books now. Our viewers out there love books. What 3 books would you recommend and why? Just 3 books.
Trevor, don't give me 3.
Or 3 books.
Trevor,
I know if I say more than that, you're going to be
give me 5.
Okay, 5.
Give me 5.
As quickly as possible.
Outside the pipe. Number 1, Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. Impactful. There is Koos Becker's Billions by Stridom, the guy who built Mnet. There is Witty Basson, The Rise and the Role of Shoprite King by Neil Jopet. Then there is Anthony Ropet and the Fortune's Gate by Epi Domise. I enjoyed that. Then there is this one by 50 Cent, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. DJ Sway as well, Billionaire Under Construction.
Why do you read books? I mean, these books that you've highlighted to me, is there a theme there?
The theme that I enjoy most is entrepreneurship, building from zero. When there is nothing, how do you build? And I read these particular books because these are people who have started, failed, have made it. Not motivational.
Thank you very much, George Mazibisa. Fantastic talking to you. And I'm hopeful you've inspired somebody, and I'm sure you will have inspired somebody out there. You're young, like I said, we're going to be watching the next 60 years and hopefully have you twice before you hit that century mark. So thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. Keep hustling, eh?
Thank you.
Keep hustling. Wonderful. Allow me to turn to our viewers who are all over the world to say thank you so much for your support. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations like one I've had with Mazibisa here, please go and subscribe, click on the notification button, and share as much as possible. Remember, we are on YouTube, 7 a.m. Central African Time every Monday. Don't miss out. We've created a platform where all our content sits on our website. Go there for binging, listen, and watch as you do many other things. We read all your comments rather below this video. Go below this video, share your comments as who you'd want to see on the show. We follow that as much as possible. Until next time, cheers.